I'm going to wear a very nice tie. I have a very nice wardrobe, Phil. I'm going to make a point to wear it now.
Hey, good evening, y'all, and welcome to Fired Up. We are here at the gun store in Las Vegas, Nevada, broadcasting from there. We are out there on KSHP 1400 AM radio, as you know, if you're listening to this as you drive home. And we're also on YouTube at Fired Up with Bob Irwin. We put up new shows every Tuesday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. The shows on YouTube stay up, so you can look at them later on. So don't look at your cell phone while you're driving, and you can listen to the radio version, 1400 AM radio. Tonight's guests are defense attorney Bill Gamage, to my far left over there, and next to me is firearms instructor Art Javier, who works here at the gun store teaching concealed weapon classes and other things. Real quick, a little bit of your background, Bill, for what you're doing.
I had a little over a decade of experience in law enforcement before I became an attorney. I did run a firearms program for a law enforcement agency. I've taught at academies with you, Bob, as you're aware. And so once I became an attorney, I've handled some cases involving the use of firearms by citizens. I generally do handle mainly criminal defense cases, but people that have questions related to gun rights or constitutional issues, I do handle for free consultations.
And you'll find Bill's contact information on our website, Fired Up with Bob Irwin. It lists the attorneys and how to get a hold of them if you need to do that. And Art, who are you?
Hi, I'm Art Javier. I spent 8 years in the Army and over 16 years training in military, law enforcement, and armed professionals, both domestically and internationally. I'm an NRA Law Enforcement Division certified instructor, also a Nevada PILB certified firearms instructor, a Nevada CCW instructor, a Utah BCI certified instructor, Illinois State Police certified firearms instructor, and a bunch of other stuff on my I Love Me wall that just takes too long to list. So
it's only an hour show, Art. So.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Both these guys are really well qualified to comment on the shootings we're going to go over, obviously. And I'm particularly happy to have Bill Gamage on the show. As he mentioned, we taught some academies together years ago. It is so useful to have an attorney who's actually been a firearms instructor, so he understands what's going on in a gunfight, rather than just an attorney who he owns a shotgun, but he never actually tried to get through to people on what they should and shouldn't do. And Bill,
and a law enforcement officer as well, so got a unique perspective.
It's actually gaming control, which is
Here we go.
You police the slot machines, the one-armed bandits.
Cheats,
organized crime. Right?
Anyway, if you have a question or comment on the show or a question for one of the guests, you can send a text to Bob at firedupmail.com. There is currently an AmmoLand website that has a thing about calling in that they took. They published something of mine there, and they added you can call into the show, but you can't. We only do answer questions by text or email to that Bob at firedupmail.com. This show is about guns, politics related thereto, and self-defense issues. As most of us know, there's several hundred defensive uses of firearms in the United States every week. Usually not covered by the mainstream media. They seem to cover the bad stuff and not the good stuff. So we answer that by pulling down some shooting incidents that happened that were good, some that were bad, some that were questionable. But we give a gamut of what happens. And the reason we do that is so you, the gun owner, can listen to what the instructors say, what the attorneys say about the incident, and how it could have been done better or should have been done better, or other avenues the guy may have had. So if it happens to you, you'll have a little bit of background. We rarely use the person's name in the incident because we're more interested in what happened and why, rather than singling out somebody for being good or bad or indifferent. It's the incident that matters to us. So we will start out. This is kind of home defense week. I started searching for cases, and I ran across just so many home invasions, burglaries, and things that we ended up doing. I think I've got 6 or 7 of them on the show. The Statesman, local newspaper in Dripping Springs, Texas, reported on the 12th, about 11:30 p.m. on Monday night, a woman called the Hays County authorities about a suspicious person in the driveway of her home. She lives on Overland Stage Road, if you know where that is in Dripping Springs. The woman was home with her 3 children. They're 9, 14, and 17 years old. When she saw a man exit a vehicle, it was parked in her driveway. Bear in mind, this is 11:30 at night. The man walked up and tried to open the locked front door, couldn't get it open, and then he went around and came through the garage into her kitchen. The woman was armed with a handgun. She confronted the guy, verbally demanding that he leave her home. He refused, literally said, "No, I'm not leaving."
Genius, right there.
Yeah, he's
Genius.
a bright guy.
Yes.
Fearing for her safety, obviously, and her children's safety, she fired 1 round at the guy, striking him in the abdomen. Sheriff's deputies responded to the family, calling 911. Paramedics later transported the guy to University Medical Center Brackenridge, where he is expected to recover. Authorities have identified this wounded intruder as a local 25-year-old. Upon his release from the hospital, he will face felony charges of burglary of a habitation.
That's when you win the lottery of being a moron.
Yeah,
Get shot and go to jail.
These incidents are not common in unincorporated Hays County. It's kind of rural. The sheriff's spokeswoman said she could not remember the last time they had a true home invasion in their county. Unusual event. Interesting. You want you to note here on this, because it's important, this intruder was unarmed. He never alluded to having a gun. They never found a gun. So we're looking at this as clearly a case. Did the woman have reasonable cause to go to deadly force? And Bill, that seems pretty straight up to me, but you may jump in there if you'd like.
Laws of the state of Nevada, there is a presumption of a home invasion, an occupied structure that somebody breaks into uninvited. It's a crime of violence. And you can operate when you defend yourself from the standpoint that you are the victim of a crime of violence. Certainly, there are other factors that will come into this particular issue. I don't think she's going to have too much of a problem, frankly. I think she should have employed some trigger reset drills and maybe followed up with 3 or 4 and been done with it. But
that's the attorney in you speaking, not the firearms instructor.
I'd have been comfortable either way. This is not a person who wanted any sort of intrusion into her home. This is a person that even was nice enough to take the time to issue a warning, and that if there was any sort of mitigating statement, I'm assuming, obviously from the bare facts, that would come out of his mouth, nothing did come out of his mouth indicating, hey, I'm in distress, or I'm having a heart attack. Yeah, but even my car broke down, whatever. It's pretty lame. Yeah. I mean, but something that would indicate that he's mentally ill or something like that. But
11:39 when he tries the front door, and then he comes in through the garage into the kitchen. Pretty clear. No problem from the firearm instructor's side. It was nice of her to give the warning. I don't personally see it as being even necessary at this point.
Yeah.
Get out of my house. 1, 2, bang. It's give them time when you give the warning. Try and give them time to turn and run. And you're not going to stand there and wait to see if he's there to rape you or shoot you or kill your children or whatever. Of course she had. Is it reasonable for her to fire as a question, even though there was no gun shown? Absolutely. Absolutely.
If she felt that her life was in danger, or in danger of death or serious bodily injury, which clearly she did, she was protecting her children and her domicile, then you're going to end up on the right side of the fence on that one.
It's fine. And if you happen to be a lady who is listening or watching the show and you don't have a gun or know how to use one, we operate here a ladies only personal defense and safety class for lady shooters. It's taught by a local lady instructor, Maggie Mordaunt. The next class we have available for that is on Thursday, the 11th of February. Instead of writing February, I wrote Thursday, February 11th. You can find the class on our website, thegunstorelasvegas.com, and sign up, and you will learn a lot. Hands-on, they'll check your gun out and teach you how to shoot it. If you don't have a gun, you can take the class anyway, and we'll let you use one of ours to take the class, but have a gun. This is from the Pensacola News Journal on the 15th. This is a follow-up to a shooting late last year. What happened originally, the morning of December 12th, 2015, a resident and his girlfriend were awakened by beating on the door. The person kicked the door, screaming he was going to kill them. The subject was a relative by marriage of one of the people in the house and had stayed there occasionally while he was looking for a job and so forth. And apparently when he was there, he had stolen a cell phone, some money, and some guns.
Hashtag winner.
I underlined that.
Yeah, hashtag winner.
They still let him stay there. But anyway, now he's coming to the house and he's beating on the door. And the resident met him at the front door, the male resident, and pointed a shotgun at him. The suspect backed out to the front porch, turned and reached at an angle into his front pocket. The resident then fired one shot, hitting the suspect again in the torso. He fell to the ground. The shooter went to render aid. He was attacked by the subject's two pit bulls that he brought with him while he was beating on the front door. I don't make these up, so the plot thickens. So the homeowner then went back inside, got another shell. He had a single shot gun, apparently. He fired.
The old time, right? It's a smoke pole. He had a smoke pole.
He fired one more shot into the ground to scare the dogs away, which did. They ran away. The officers arrived on the scene and found the 38-year-old suspect dead. Yes. Investigating the incident, state investigators determined the resident had a reasonable fear of imminent death or great bodily harm, or harm to the home's other occupants. This guy had been released from prison on April 2015. Now, the shooting took place in December 2015. Had prior convictions for crimes involving violence and use of firearms. The assistant state attorney concluded the resident's actions were justifiable under Florida stand your ground law and no criminal charges should be filed. And were not filed. But they just cleared it now in April. He's been kind of on the hang all this time to see if they were going to charge him.
And that is never fun.
No, because you're not going to charge you with attempted murder or whatever. But anyway, he's okay. Again,
it took them that long to figure out from his verbal escapade saying that he was going to kill everybody in the house, that they might be in danger.
Well, I can tell you why that is, and if we had Phil Ramos here, he'd tell you the same thing, and Bill will probably tell you the same thing. Because you've got a dead guy and another guy holding the gun, and he reached for a gun, honest, and you go, right, let me talk to everybody in the neighborhood, see who you all are. Did you owe him money? There's all kinds of possible motives when you only got one guy talking.
There are a whole bunch of issues here that, when I underline this, as a good lawyer would look at this fact scenario. Remember, it's a subjective, objective test, meaning, the issue of whether he stole money or several guns is not relevant to any sort of trial unless the person who pulled the trigger knew that at the time, because it's a totality of the circumstances. What do you subjectively know about this person, and what can you put into the crucible of threat? I'm just saying that for purposes of this discussion. Some of these other things about whether he's been involved in prior crimes of violence. Did the person who pulled the trigger on the shotgun know that? Was he aware of that ahead of time, and did that go into the computation to decide to fire? Frankly, though, kicking a door in, screaming, occupied structure again, and yelling, unequivocally, "I'm going to kill you," I think is enough.
And he believed the guy had a gun because they believed this guy had stolen guns from their house.
But even if he didn't have a gun, what if he had a stick? What if he had,
it's still a good shooting.
Yeah.
So there seems to be a lot of evidence here that says, it's certainly reasonable. This guy is, again, now he's specifically saying, I'm going to kill you. He's not just like the previous case.
That's not
just going, I'm not going to leave your house.
But there's no confusion.
Yes.
No. When they tell you they're going to kill you, and they're witnesses, but the witnesses are all kids. They're all 4 little kids. So they didn't give the ages, but it's okay. No guns found on the subject, again, but his prior theft of weapons gave reason to believe he might be armed, and he made a gesture like he was, and
Plus, I think you have more leeway.
Let me write moron on
Yeah.
here.
Convicted
If you don't
felon
have
usually.
a gun,
Yes.
don't pretend you're drawing one when
Yeah.
there's a guy pointing a shotgun at you.
Yeah.
This is the Peter principle, or that's what we're looking for, the Darwin theory.
Yes.
Not the Peter principle. That's the Army and attorneys. But
The old thinning,
here we
thinning
go.
of the,
Mhm.
if you have a question or comment, again, you can send an email to bob@firedupmail.com, and please friend us on Facebook. There's a little note on there for that.
Mhm.
The gun store here, we do offer the concealed carry permit class every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Saturday. You can find our class signups on our website, thegunstorelasvegas.com, and if you're fortunate enough, you'll end up in a class that Art is teaching.
and we don't just offer Nevada as well.
And that's true.
That's
Nevada and Florida and
And
Utah,
Utah as well.
and we're working on a couple of others that you will see on our website.
Yeah.
In a week or two, we may have a couple of more.
And let me interject. Training makes all the difference, and especially at these rates. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes all the difference, and you should take the time and go do it, because if you don't hear it from an expert, you don't see the tricks of the trade. You don't see the easy way of doing this, and it takes you a long time to figure it out.
Well,
Okay.
not only that,
Thanks
but
for the-
training actually gives you knowledge, but more importantly, you're building in success
So you don't make
for
make
future
mistakes.
incidents
Confidence,
that you may have to end up in a courtroom and justify.
and you'll speak the language.
So you'll actually be able to articulate why you did it and still fall on the right side of the fence because you were educated and you were trained.
Outstanding.
And we've gone through a couple that were slam dunk, good shootings,
Mhm.
and we're going to get some more that are
Easy
a
cases.
little more dicey decisions.
Okay.
So this is Fox News, Channel 5 in DeKalb County, Georgia on the 13th of January. Local resident fought back against two intruders inside his house. The incident happened shortly after 5:30 p.m. on Eastwood Drive, just through that because of Clint Eastwood.
Clint, yeah.
The resident, a 28-year-old, tussled with two burglars. That's what the police report said. Tussled.
Is that a real?
That's
is
a
that
real
it's a
term?
southern word.
I
Yes.
presume we're having a
Yes.
little wrestling match.
Tussle.
Melee.
I haven't seen that police report in Las Vegas that we were tossling, but anyway.
Is that? do we call that mutual combat? Is that what we call that? We
Well,
call
he's,
that-
he's tossling with two burglars, got away, retrieved his weapon, and opened fire. One of the suspects was found dead in the yard of a neighboring home. The second suspect jumped into a car with a woman and fled the area. They ended up at a business in the 3400 block of Memorial Drive. If you happen to be from DeKalb County, Georgia, you'll know how far that is from Eastwood Drive. But witnesses there called 911 when the woman pulled in to Memorial Drive, whatever business was there. The guy fell out of the vehicle in the parking lot.
Mhm.
He was wounded
Ooh,
and
zip ties.
fell out of the car. He was rushed to a hospital in critical condition. The man may have been trying to impersonate a police officer or security guard, as they found a security badge and zip ties on him.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
And this is the odd part. The homeowner told reporters his mother suffered a heart attack after this home invasion. And I want to address that issue with you, Bill.
Well, I've got lots of issues.
Again, not if this guy had not had a firearm in his house, we got two guys who broke in and there's a fist fight.
But I think you're jumping ahead of the gun there, Bob. I don't know if he broke in. How did these guys get in there?
Well, it didn't say. Actually, it didn't say that.
Maybe they were playing poker.
The police report called them burglars, so we'll assume they were
Good point.
invited in.
They were burgling. They must have been burgling.
Okay.
Or they were burglarizing or whatever
Okay.
it is. Anyway, having a gun saved me a real disaster here, because if the two guys, you couldn't beat up two guys,
Wow.
he's in. The police are correct that home invasion suspects frequently portray themselves as police. They knock on the door and yell police to get you to open the door, or flash some kind of badge at the peephole or whatever. If the police are at your door and you didn't call them and you're not expecting them, you need to leave your door shut, call 911 and ask, is there a policeman at my door? And if it ain't a real policeman, you'll have a real policeman in very short order. That really ticks the cops off when somebody's being a fake cop. And you don't want to film that on your home security camera, because there may be an attitude adjustment in that police response. The heart attack. apparently they're saying it's related to
The crime itself.
the crime itself.
Um,
It didn't say, whether she survived or died. I presume she survived, or they would have said something in the article. But can that be charged as a?
It can. It depends on how long the person suffers before passing. Obviously, it was a very short period of time, but not.
Even
Not
if she
necessarily.
survived, it would still be a heart attack.
Yes,
If the district attorney was aggressive.
it's an issue again of causation and intent, mens rea. What was the intent? What were the actions? It could be certainly considered a reckless act, a form of reckless homicide, or a reckless killing. It could have been a negligent homicide or a form of negligent killing, which there are two standards for.
Yeah, it's
negligent
clearly
homicide.
not. He didn't murder the mother.
He-
Assuming she died, he didn't
Yeah.
murder.
I mean, but what happens though if you substitute intent with, at some later date, adding facts, the investigation indicates that he had an intent to go in there and kill everybody inside. Then it's really 6 in one, half a dozen in the other.
That he succeeded in doing that.
Yeah.
So,
But the actual killing itself doesn't have the requisite intent for something like first degree or second degree murder, potentially, unless you use a different theory.
yeah, unless there's
Vicarious
more to
liability.
this. Again, we're reading a paragraph out of a police report that took place, and this took place on the 13th.
The zip
It's
ties.
2 weeks ago, and we have no idea what the details are.
And the security badge, especially if he's not a registered security
And,
guard.
and if nobody knew these people,
Yeah.
did the resident know these people? And maybe he was a security guard, but who knows?
So have a gun and, or be able to beat up two guys.
Well, good technique to be able to push himself away from
In the
a fight.
tossling,
a
he
toss,
used a special tossling technique.
draw a weapon, bring it to bear.
Found on the Bruce Lee YouTube channel. So
Art also is involved in martial arts, and I knew that tossling would. Is that a particular move?
it's like a
that you-
hi-ya, right?
Hi-ya.
Hi-ya.
Excellent CQB.
I was
You
tossling.
break into my house, I'm going to
Yeah.
tossle the hell out of you.
You're gonna get a tossling. You better leave me alone, or you're gonna get tossling.
Again, if you want to friend us on Facebook, that would be nice. You will find our website there too. Planning a corporate event. We do machine gun shooting here for business meetings and recreation and so forth. Got a lot of them in town with a SHOT Show this week. And I want to add that a blog site called firearms.net. It's a gun news blog that features Fired Up on its blog on occasion and keeps up to date with this type of thing going on. You might look that up. You'll find some good information on firearms.net. You might even find this show on firearms.net. This is CBS News in Dallas-Fort Worth. Kind of an odd home defense case. The suspect was at the shooter's home, and the two men got in an argument just before midnight. The suspect left the scene, and then the suspect's ex-girlfriend sent a text message to the homeowner, warning the homeowner that the guy was coming back.
She's no friend of her boyfriend, that's for sure, right?
No, she's trying to warn the homeowner, this guy, is coming back, look out.
Yes.
So the homeowner kept a lookout on his home security camera. As he waited, someone cut the camera wire.
Huh. Clearly, the camera placement was not optimal.
Yes.
Now we've got the warning and somebody
Yes.
cutting his surveillance.
Yes.
So what he did then, he, armed with his gun, went outside to look. Yeah, that's a
Not really your
problem.
job. Yeah.
The suspect was across the street, came onto a property in an aggressive manner, yelling and approaching the homeowner with something in his hand. The homeowner felt threatened by the man and opened fire, killing the man in the home's driveway. We got all this now. Warning,
This okay.
sees him, cut the
Yeah.
security.
Yeah.
He comes out. The guy comes across the street yelling and screaming. He gets shot dead. Law enforcement identified the suspect as a 47-year-old male. The homeowner is being interviewed by investigators along with two other people who were inside the house at the time. Authorities said it's unlikely the shooter will face charges. And the DA or police spokesman there said, as a homeowner, you have the right to protect yourself and your property. A person came onto his property and he was in fear.
It's a little bit
Warning.
different than Texas. You know?
This
Yes.
is a Texas
Yes.
case.
Yeah.
And looking at this with Texas law, where you can basically shoot to protect your property, literally your house, or to recover stolen property, and so on and so on.
Wow.
Now,
remember the
if
guy
this-
with the stolen TV and the next
I-
door neighbor in the shop?
hold this because as a Nevada case, where we are, you have to realize that Texas law is a little bit different. When you see shows on TV and whatnot that duplicate Texas cases, look out.
I'm gonna differ slightly, Bob. I'm gonna caveat. I haven't read the Texas law that underlies this, but I can tell you that common law, going all the way back to England, all the way up, you can't kill people to retrieve property. You can't, and it's pretty much a uniform set of statutes. Now, I would probably guess that the cases you're talking about had indications that persons' lives were threatened as well.
No.
Yeah,
Actually,
not in Texas.
Then I need to read this.
Or
Yeah.
maybe not so sadly.
in Texas, you're actually allowed to use lethal force to recover property that's stolen.
What about a spring gun?
Well,
That's almost
they do
universally
it.
banned.
Where you still see the same lawsuits in Texas against police misuse of force because they're sued in federal court.
Different standard.
Yeah.
And, actually, civilians can shoot more people in Texas than cops can by a long shot.
Okay.
According to the ruling there, the police said an aggressive person coming toward you in the middle of the night, given these details, he's yelling and so
Mhm.
forth, is clearly self-defense. It wouldn't be anywhere else. If
Yes.
you're in this situation, you have an ex-felon, who this guy was,
Yeah.
staying over, look out. Leopards do change your spots, but
Yes.
not as often as you'd like. Were this a Nevada case, this is clearly going to be a wrongful shooting. And if this
Agreed.
happened to you and you're sitting home and somebody warns you somebody's coming back who means you harm,
Call the police,
Or
stay
once or
inside,
money.
barricade yourself in.
yeah,
Yeah.
you lock the
Okay,
door, watch on the camera. If you see the guy, you dial 911
Mhm.
and make him break through the damn door to get to you. So,
Yeah.
It's
You know,
better
one,
to
it gives
not
the
appear
cops
the
time to
aggressor.
get there.
Yeah, exactly.
and
Yeah.
two, if you need to fire, it emboldens your case that the guy's clearly busting through stuff trying to get you.
That you are the victim and you are
Yeah.
defending yourself, not
If
going out and actively seeking.
everybody
confrontation.
reacted on the panel when I said, so the guy went outside with his gun, and I went, no,
Don't do that.
don't go outside with your gun. Again, questions can be sent to bob@firedupmail.com. The gun store, if you don't know, has its own wedding chapel. We do really memorable shotgun weddings and vow renewals, from a simple ceremony to the whole thing with photographers and flowers and lunch. And they all include shooting in the range after the couple exchanges vows. You can go to thegunstorelasvegas.com and click on special events, and you will see a whole gamut of stuff there to renew your vows or get married for the first time. We do a wedding here
I
about
want
every
to see
2
the
weeks.
chapel actually, because I actually
And-
have not seen the chapel yet, but I'm curious
Well,
to see it. You know?
it's where you hang your coat when you're going to be on television. It's right there. It's,
Okay, very good.
okay. It's range 1
Yes.
is the
Oh.
wedding chapel.
Yeah, they always used to
We-
tell my friends in the Navy when they were in the aircraft carrier, yeah, we got bowling alleys. You know, they'll walk around the entire aircraft carrier looking for that bowling alley. You know,
No, we
Find the
really
bowling alley.
do have a range 1. If you go on the range and look, we got 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. The one at the far left end is the wedding chapel.
Wow.
We didn't put the hanging steel in there yet, and we have
That's
chairs
awesome.
and wedding thing and whatever. It's all cool.
Huh.
So
Awesome.
you're engaged.
Yes,
You could get
I could
a
get married
shotgun
here.
wedding. I'll give you a
I
discount.
could get married here. That would be cool. Yeah.
You could.
And in fact, Van Com Systems made my fiance a tactical pink Remington 870 shotgun as a present.
And our engineer
Wow.
Justin
Tactical pink.
is
Yeah.
one of the people here that does the ceremony.
Yeah.
He's like a
Oh, he's an
officiant.
ordained minister.
He's a county
Not
official.
official. Okay, gotcha.
And does a great Elvis impression, but he won't do it. So I can't get him to do it for the weddings. WVLT TV, Knoxville, Tennessee, also on the 15th. in Oak Ridge, a local resident heard banging on the basement of his Jefferson Avenue home around midnight. He armed himself with a handgun and went to investigate. He discovered a 47-year-old man breaking into his house.
Was that the same 47-year-old man from Texas or a different one?
Only a coincidence.
Okay.
There are actually several 47-year-old men in the United States.
Let's see.
Anyway, he went to investigate. He discovered a 47-year-old breaking into his house. The would-be intruder lunged at the victim, who reacted by firing the handgun he was holding. The bullet hit the intruder in the right ear. And I wish I'd saved the visual, because there's this wonderful picture with this story on WVLT TV. You may be able to find the internet. This little guy with this huge bandage over his ear, looking very dejected. Anyway, he shot him in the ear, the right ear. I'm sorry, his over here. He gave up the fight at that point, and the homeowner called 911. The responding paramedics treated the guy's injuries. Police took him into custody. The suspect is charged with aggravated burglary and public intoxication.
The lesson here is not to drink excessively so you don't do dumb stuff, right?
Yes, exactly.
Clearly, right?
I don't know why you're looking at me.
Right.
Yeah, we don't have any other details. When these flesh out, most commonly it's a drunk who walked into the wrong house. The victim didn't know that. Maybe the in the ear was a warning shot that happened to hit him. It got his attention. He surrendered, and the whole thing's over. Not knowing the layout of the house, you might go, well, how about calling 911 and screaming, who is that? Some type of verbal warning. Because even as goofy as this is, the intruder got shot in the ear. Now they're going to bring criminal charge against him. It's going to tie up a large portion of this guy's life for that shooting. And if it turns out he's an unarmed drunk, you can find an attorney somewhere who will sue the homeowner for wrongfully shooting him because he didn't warn him. And so
I disagree with that the propaganda, but okay.
Well, I think one of the things you got to bear in mind, no matter what, is, there's the right thing to do, and then there's the smart thing to do. And those two things are not always the same thing.
This is true.
And so you always want to kind of factor that into your decision-making process.
I think everybody was lucky.
Yeah.
I think everybody was lucky.
Yeah, he's lucky he didn't kill the guy, or and
And the
then
drunk is
realize
lucky.
this is a drunk who wanted it in the wrong house.
Yeah.
Because there are civil lawsuits on the other end. I mean, the guy is
It can be.
not seriously hurt, shot in the ear, is going to have a hole in his ear or whatever. Not a lot of damage to sue over because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But if you kill him, then you've got somebody
some
coming
liability.
after you. So we try not to do that. I want to point out we do teach the Eddie Eagle Gun Safety class for children. It's for kids age 5 to 11. Fourth Friday of each month now. That class is designed for little children to keep them away from firearms. It's not a shooting class for 5-year-olds. It is stop, don't touch, leave the area, call an adult if you find a gun, don't touch him, and so forth. They learn a little song and so forth. They're really cute classes. You got to come down and watch them if you don't have kids.
Yeah.
They're just amazing classes. But there's an age in there, 5 to 10, where kids are curious about guns. So you don't really want to take them out shooting yet. This is the don't touch area.
Definitely don't want them to play cops and robbers.
We use this class for the little kids and the occasional unarmed gaming control agent who happens to.
This training is almost universally applauded by every political facet of the spectrum on the Second Amendment, and I think it's one of the most amazing things the NRA does. It supports.
Not by Bloomberg's group. They have complained that this makes children comfortable around guns and causes accidents, which is absolute crap. They have no data.
The outlaw of the
That shows
32 ounce big gulp as well.
Yeah. They have no data. It just seems irrational to them.
Yeah.
The class has no guns in it. It doesn't show guns. All it does is go stop, don't touch. And they color a coloring book about that and sing a song. It is not.
I should add that to my class. A coloring book would work really well.
Honestly, I taught all of my
One
law
year
enforcement officers. I worked with guys like Bob.
They
and
were all
other people.
colored books.
I would get weird guns, that guns that hardly anybody's ever seen, and I would have, as part of my initial firearms course, how to use basic principles to render safe any gun that you don't even know how it works or
Right.
what it looks like.
That makes sense.
And because they're going to be the person, every law enforcement officer at the scene, they're going to be the person everybody's going to look to do it.
Murphy's Law. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's going to fall to you.
Yeah. And so
Yeah,
for
you're a
adults,
cop, you know all about guns. And we see that most every day
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And
with some few exceptions.
it's to most cops, a gun is just a tool like their nightstick or handcuffs.
Mhm.
They're not necessarily gun knowledgeable. So, but anyway, we have classes for cops too. That's what Bill needs to teach. This is WJCL-ABC 22 in Savannah, Georgia. A woman said she had a gun in one hand while dialing 911 with the other after an intruder entered her home on a Tuesday night. Police were able to get to her home just a few minutes to track that suspect down. The woman and her children were sleeping on the second floor of their home when she was awakened by her back door chime. Those little dingers you have when your door
Maybe she has
opens.
an alarm or something, and the chime
The,
went off when the door opened. Is that what?
Anyway,
Yeah.
she
Okay.
knew right away somebody had opened the door
Sure.
because you heard a pop. She said she grabbed her gun, went to the stairs, and screamed, "I'm armed, I will shoot." Then she went to find her phone and dial 911. I was shaking so bad, so scared because I didn't know. I mean, someone was in my home. I was completely violated and vulnerable. I didn't know what to do. I was really scared. And I put that all in because this is the same statement you get from everybody this
Sure.
happens to,
Mhm.
and they don't normally print it in the paper. Officers say they found a 54-year-old on the balcony of a nearby carriage house. She thinks she knows what happened. He had stuck some kind of something under the garage door, raised it up to where he could hit the sensor, and then it opened.
Huh.
I'd never heard of that. So
Oh, you mean the obstruction sensor
Yeah,
for the
that it-
tires, and then
yeah,
it would go
if
back
you
up?
can get under the door enough and get something in with the sensor thinks somebody's
I'm gonna have to go
Walk in the
home and
door
try
and
that
open.
now because I didn't think that would work if it was already closed.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought it would only work. when
I know
was
some
going
other
out.
tricks, but I'm not going to broadcast.
yeah. Don't do that. Anyway,
We don't need to
Um,
know how you break into houses.
not
You know
me.
what I mean? That's it.
she
reading discovery.
thinks
Yes.
that's what happened. This was not the intruder's first run-in with the law, according to Chatham County court records. Among several offenses, he'd been arrested for theft, burglary 3 times in the last 5 years.
Hmm.
Records show his latest arrest in December led to a sentencing of 12 months in prison.
Boom.
He did the burglary in December, so January, he goes to jail for 12 months, and this is
He just got
now
out then. It's
in
116
January.
January. So he just
Yeah.
got out.
He's out.
Yes.
Absolutely.
The victim said she would have definitely shot him if he'd come up the stairs where her kids were.
Mhm.
She said the family no longer has the same sense of security as they did that night. He completely violated me in my space. It's horrible for me and my children.
Mhm.
He's now awaiting a preliminary hearing in jail. A couple things here. Her expression that now she can't sleep nights because this happened
Mhm.
is universal.
Mhm.
If someone's in your house and you go through this, it's like, my God, you thought you were safe up till now,
Mhm.
and now you trust nothing and nobody. A lot of people end up moving after
Yes.
this
Yeah,
kind of
that's
thing.
true. That's true.
Yes.
Who just has bad memories. The other question be, why is this guy not in jail? 54-year-old guy still committing crimes at age 54
Yeah.
is really unlikely to rehabilitate. Probably because there's no real harm in this case. He might get probation again.
But it
Uh,
says here 3 other times, so wouldn't that be
Well,
make him a third striker?
It depends
conceivably?
on the level of the conviction.
whether it's a
It's a
felony
habitual
or-
criminal
yeah,
status.
yeah.
They
Yeah, this is a case out of Georgia. We don't really know whether they
Yeah.
have the 3 strikes type thing or 2
Yeah.
strikes or no strikes.
Mhm.
But it seems that you got a guy this age. When I was a bailiff and a cop, you see a guy who's a criminal still at age 54. He's not going to rehabilitate.
He's just not a quitter. He's going to keep doing it.
Well,
till
it's what he knows, and that's what he does to make his
And when he
living.
gets out of jail, he can't get a job. Who's going to hire the guy? So
Or maybe he just wanted to get back there sooner rather than later because he was missing the free food and the cable TV.
you never know.
Right.
Sometimes they get comfortable with that. But here we got, this woman is now, her life is turned upside down.
Uh-huh.
And nothing actually happened except for being frightened by the guy being in the house.
I like that you read that part, Bob, because that is, and I'm sure you can talk to Art about this. That's what training's about.
Yeah.
You're going to be fearful. You're going to be shaking. You're going to be scared. Your peripheral vision is going to crash down on you. And,
If your gun ain't already loaded, you probably can't load it because your hands are shaking.
and if you employ proper technique that you've been taught over and over again, you will be able to perform.
Yes. What we used to call muscle memory. There's better terms for it now, but you do repeated actions so you can do it over without thinking, because you can't think while this is going on. You just brain it.
Almost like when we're trying to give the Top Gun pilots their successful engagements before they actually get to combat. That's exactly what we're trying to do by duplicating that training and that muscle memory before you have that magic
So when you
moment.
panic, you do this.
So once you get that magic moment, you've done it so many times, it's
training.
already going to happen for you.
Want to mention again that you can reach us by sending an email or text to bob@firedupmail.com. That's on the other side of this little sign here, now that you've all friended us on Facebook
There we go.
already.
But on the face of it, she really didn't do that bad a job for somebody that was untrained.
I think it was perfect.
She kind of thought out the things logically, did the right
And she
things.
decided, I'm going to stay here at the top of the stairs. The guy comes up the stairs, bang, and
Yes.
if not, I'm going to stay here
Yes.
and call police.
She kept
Absolutely.
the high ground.
Kept
and
the
did
high
what she
ground.
needed to. Yeah.
Protected her family.
Want to mention that American Printing downtown on 1512 Fremont does a lot of our printing here at the gun store. They do great work and on time and good prices. If you happen to need printing done, this is a free commercial because I like these guys. It's a family business. It started the same time I started the gun store about 30 years ago.
That's awesome.
And
And you don't look a day over 37, 38, so, I mean, it's looking good.
on
I look that good.
the last show there it's going to be on, which is tonight, we're going to. Anyway, if you're thinking about printing in Las Vegas area, call American Printing. They're in the book, website, and all that stuff. They're in downtown. A couple of more short ones. Again, this was like Home Defense Week. KAIT-TB8 in Kennett, Missouri. On the 12th, the would-be robber was sent to the hospital after police said he was shot breaking into a home. The Kennett Police Department said officers were called to the Twin Ridge Regional Medical Center to check a patient suffering from a gunshot wound. The investigation led to a home in the 700 block of North Everett Street. The man inside told police the guy broke into his home and tried to rob him. The intended victim shot the robber in the foot.
That's pretty good
Probably
aim there.
unintentionally.
Yeah,
The case has been sent to the prosecutor's office for review. It's unlikely charges will be filed. They don't have a lot of details. This is fine. What the resident should have done after he shot the guy, call 911.
Sure.
Or shot at the guy, even if he didn't realize he
Absolutely.
didn't hit him or hit him. Two, for all you robbers out there, when you go to an emergency room with a bullet hole, they always call the police. It's like universal law of emergency.
Yes.
You know, no matter how good your story is about, you know,
Yes.
I shot myself accidentally. And,
Nobody's going to buy you poke your foot with a screwdriver.
Actually,
It just doesn't look like
I
one.
think there's a statute, actually. I think there is in Nevada. I believe
a
there's a
statute
statute.
they have to call.
They're
I
required.
believe they have. It's
Yeah.
a mandatory reporting statute.
But anyway, yeah, that was, of course, the guy's not that all fired bright anyway if he's doing burglaries anyhow. But anyway, call 911. If you fire at somebody or somebody's trying to break in a house and runs away, you don't fire. Call 911. He's probably
Absolutely.
going to the next house. So call the cops, let them know it's going on. It saves you a lot because they had to find out from the shot guy
What was
where
going
this
on?
happened.
And
He
did
finally
do so.
fessed up to I was at this house and the guy shot me.
But did they read a Miranda before they arrested him?
Well, you've got to go to the homeowner and go, why didn't you call the cops?
Yeah.
Anyway,
There's a tremendous amount of confusion after a shooting, and people do dumb stuff, and you know that, Bob. Even
Yeah.
highly trained SWAT guys and cops, they do.
okay, well, here we go with the dumb one of the week. This
Oh,
is
boy.
WYFF TV4, Anderson County, South Carolina. This was in Starr, South Carolina. A homeowner is, yeah, you're reading ahead now. The homeowner is credited with stopping burglary in progress, according to the sheriff's office. Deputies were called to Martin Road home about a burglary in progress. When they arrived, the homeowner had things under control, according to cops.
Well,
The
under
homeowner
control.
confronted two men who went into a storage building behind his house. After the homeowner confronted the men, they locked the door of the building.
Oh,
Put them inside.
Yeah.
Right?
so they are contained.
Yes.
the homeowner went and got his
self-contained.
down.
That
He
he
goes
gets it
and gets his gun.
Yeah.
He just went out there to see what the noise was.
Yeah.
Now he realizes there's two guys. They've locked themselves in his shed.
Uh-huh.
Like, he can't get us in here. Some of these guys are so stupid. Anyway, he gets his gun. He goes back. Told them to come out of the building, which they did.
Oh.
The deputies arrived 3 minutes later, according to the police. I'll believe that when I see it. They found a pair of amplifiers in a wooded area behind the storage building and a box of O-rings in the
Because you need that.
Yes.
You need that.
Yeah,
Different sizes. It's
they're in one of
important.
the burglar
Yes.
Maybe
pockets.
these are
Yeah.
space shuttle.
Yes.
That
Yes.
showed that
It was.
they were stealing
Stealing
from him, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, they're taken into custody, charged with third-degree burglary and extreme stupidity. They're being held. I made that second part up. They're being held in the Anderson County Detention Center pending bail.
Maybe he's going to try and pay for the
I'm
bail.
going to say,
raise,
if you're a burglar, don't lock yourself in
Why?
somewhere. But
No,
it
you should be
didn't work.
saying the
Oh,
opposite.
sure. Why
You should be
not?
saying
Yeah. It's
absolutely.
a good idea if you're a burglar.
If you're a burglar,
Yeah.
lock yourself into a shed.
This is called the ostrich defense theory, right?
Exactly.
If I stick my head in the sound and I can't see it,
if you don't,
I'm
see it.
fine.
It
Right?
doesn't happen.
Just close the
Turning into
door.
An incredible comedy act. However, there is one thing very wrong here.
Yes.
When the guy saw he was being burglarized and they locked themselves in the shed, should have just gone in his house and called 911.
Yep.
Not gone back out with his gun.
Yep.
They weren't going anywhere. They could have come out there, charged out. They could have
Safe
been armed.
distance.
A
That's true.
lot of things could go wrong. Let the cops that have the body armor do that. Right?
But then
Don't do it
even when he does have them locked in there, to not leave them in there is even dumber by the homeowner. It's hard for a police officer
Better to not order
to
them out.
control
Let them
with
stay.
all the tools to control two suspects at gunpoint. Then it is,
There's bound to
let
be
alone
a shovel
citizen.
or something.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Just leave it locked.
Yeah, leave them where they are. Call the cops. Let the cops do
Find a
it.
slot.
We also
Understand.
have here at the gun store a free firearm safety class, second Friday of each month. Next one is February 12th. Starts at 10 a.m. You've got a gun, they're afraid of it, don't know how to work it or how to clean it. This is just a gun safety class. It's not a shooting class. How to safely handle your gun, how to load it and unload it. That's it. It's free. You can find the information on our website, thegunstorelasvegas.com. And we're about 8 minutes out, so we're going to get into some political stuff. I ran out of home defenses. Truthfully, in looking at what my carnivore thing picked up, there's about 14 more.
Really?
That were in some local paper.
Okay.
That fell into this category. I was just delighted when I found the guys locking themselves in the shed.
Yes, of course you did.
The ostrich defense. I'm going to remember that one.
National Shooting Sports has reported this week they're doing the SHOT Show here, if you're from Las Vegas. The Brady campaign to prevent gun violence and the Americans for Responsible Solutions. That's the one run by Gabby Giffords and her husband. Both organizations have now officially endorsed Hillary Clinton for president.
Okay.
We now have an official anti-gun endorsed candidate.
Well, she was already anti-gun before she was endorsed as
As if this
anti-gun.
was
But now
surprising,
she's
right?
endorsed as the
Yes.
anti-gun candidate.
So it's like a double anti-gun thing now.
Now,
Yes.
this is a little more complex.
Sadly, it doesn't make her program if she's double.
We're not, the engineer says quit all talking at once. Editor of the Baltimore Sun, a name I will use, Tricia Bishop, ran an editorial. She's the editor of the Baltimore Sun. President Barack Obama announced plans this week to tighten background checks for gun buyers and increase gun trafficking research. She added, that's all well and good, but how about adding something immediately useful? A gun owner registry available to the public online, something like the one for sex offenders. She continued to say, I'm not equating gun owners with predatory perverts, but the model is helpful. I want a searchable database so I can consult to find out whether or not my kid can have a play date at your house. Well, it obviously violates people's property rights or privacy rights.
Absolutely.
It becomes a working map for burglars. They can look it up and stay away from houses that have guns in them and find guns in houses that are unoccupied.
Right, right.
Maybe it'd be easier for this woman to call and ask specific houses where her children are going to play
Yeah.
if they have a gun, rather than getting the list of everyone in Baltimore
Yes.
to put on a public list. I mean, this is
Yeah.
never going anywhere, but that is about the dumbest thing.
Sounds
Boy,
like she's not
a burglar kid,
gun owner.
you know.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here, but it sounds like she's not a gun owner.
Mayor,
yes.
Editor of the Baltimore Sun.
Yes.
What do you think?
Well,
Probably.
Bob, before we get into that, is there a good source for a person to go to that makes a list with maybe like bullet points of what the regulatory provisions were that apparently the Obama administration put into place?
There is a list, and I've started to do a story out of California because it just added 3, 4, 5 bills that all restrict sort of assault rifles. And it's so involved and such a long list. What Obama's planning to do, the list is way longer than the show. So I'm kind of waiting until they get closer to actual reality.
Okay.
I
I'm just looking for a
understand
citation.
he's up for election, so we're not going to have to worry about it in a while.
Mhm.
We're almost at the end, so let me do my little closing and I'll come back.
Okay.
The Las Vegas Gun Show is this weekend, Saturday and Sunday at the Sports Center on Las Vegas Boulevard, right up the road from us, Las Vegas Boulevard and Sunset Road. We're going to be there selling our brass, and maybe I'll have an attorney up there to answer your questions. We got Crossroads coming up March 5 and 6 at Cashman. Rocky Mountain is still looking for another venue. Next week, we're going to be here from 5 to 6 with murder defense attorney Clark Patrick and the aforementioned homicide detective Phil Ramos, who is always wonderful to listen to about the policeman's view when he gets to a shooting scene.
Very, very interesting. Yeah.
And people talk or don't talk or so forth. If you want to use one of our guests as a speaker or instructor at your private function, you can call in on our private line 702-333-0033, which I hardly ever answer, but I do pick up the messages. If you want a guest speaker, give me a call and we'll leave your number and I'll call you back and we'll set it up. Looks like we're about 2 minutes out. We'll skip that one. New York's capital city, this is Albany, has put forth a statute to enact mandating laws not in use be locked up under threat of fines and jail time. It's called Law A 2014 mandates all firearms, including rifles and shotguns, be securely locked in a box container or disabled with a lock, with penalties for non-compliance from $250 to 15 days in prison, and much as a year in prison for for a second offense. This is already the law in Rochester, Buffalo, New York City, and Winchester County as a whole.
It's a kind of a vague area here. With the guns not in use. Is
If you're
a wide
cleaning
variety,
it or practicing shooting
Yeah.
in your basement, I guess it's
Yeah.
okay. But unless the gun is in your hand, it has to be locked, unloaded. What a great thing for burglars. Kick a door and see if you can draw your gun before the guy can get his lockbox open.
yeah, I don't know about that though.
Big win for burglars. This will be great. Watch the crime rate in Albany. Where to be safe. Want to mention also at the end here, if you are caught, we always try and hit this. We got terrorist attacks all over the place. If you're caught in a terrorist shooting, first try to run away. If you can't run, hide. If you can't run or hide, fight them. Do whatever you can to protect yourself and those around you. If 20 of you jump on this guy, you might shoot 1 or 2 of you, and the rest of you are going to beat him into a pulp. So win. We are about to be off the air. Thanks for listening in to Fire It Up. We'll be back next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night. Hold while we push the button.
Are we off?
The bright red,
We are.
shiny, candy-like red button even now beckons you to push it.
They are.
Just on YouTube.
They've got. I pulled